Talk over drink.
Talks over drinks. So we are another episode of Talks Over Drinks. My name is Corey Fauconier. I'm driving. We are on our way home. Definitely like to thank everybody for being with us. And I want to segue straight in. Markel, how are you this evening?
I'm doing awesome, brother. I'm having a good evening, and I'm enjoying the view from your point of view. You driving that truck, keeping that joint on the road, so
Yeah,
keeping us in the country going all together. So you multi-purpose, multitasking today.
trying to do that. What's your food for action today?
Well, today's food for action is based off of integrity and leadership. So it goes like this. True leadership is demonstrated not by the absence of scrutiny, but by the grace and honesty with which one responds to it. Facing allegations head on and maintaining transparency paves the path to genuine public trust. So that right there is something that, some people nowadays, they might be facing a lot of scrutiny, and a lot of political figures are facing a lot of scrutiny, whether it's well deserved or maybe it's not deserved. It's all based off of your individual perspective. So the way you deliver the information and the way you go about your personal stance will determine the level of respect you should and you possibly will get. So with that, that's how I came about that one.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And definitely segue on to my brother of another color, Jeff Kleb, Keswick, Virginia. Jeff, how are you today, sir?
All right, I'm doing well tonight, and I'm hoisting some Crown Royal on the rocks. This is authentic Blue Label Crown Royal in honor of our Canadian brother tonight.
Oh, wow.
All
Um,
right.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say beauty, eh? And my
Beauty,
quote
eh?
of the day, comes from a long time ago. My father, my late father, may he rest in peace in Arlington Cemetery, once said that you don't always get what you pay for, but you sure as hell pay for what you get.
Amen to that.
Wow.
All right. All right. We got Joshua Huffman, my Libertarian brother, all the way from Wellington, New Zealand. Josh, how are you today, sir?
Oh, doing well. Of course, it's Friday here, so
Happy
greeting
Friday.
future.
Oh, wow. You're one day ahead of us.
Yes. But yes, good to be with you all. Just still getting myself situated here in New Zealand. But yeah, things are going well.
Good. Well, we appreciate your pictures. We know you're doing well, and hopefully you get your situation with housing straight.
Yeah,
I know
that's
we're
right.
praying for that to be resolved. And then last but certainly not least, thank Jesus for everyone's favorite Nazarene attorney, Sandy Sanders. Sandy, how are you this evening?
Well, we're doing well, and I'm excited about, as I like to say, thank Jesus, we're doing well. And I'm excited to have Rene here today and to talk about the People's Party of Canada. And I looked on his LinkedIn page, and I also have a LinkedIn page too. He's a senior vice president of Arcadius Canada, which appears to be an environmental firm, engineering type firm that does those kinds of things, I guess. And he might explain a little more about it, but it sounds important. Sounds like it's something that's necessary, especially in these green times. And he is running in Markham.
Stovall.
The district that you're running in is called Markham Stouffville.
That's right.
And
That's just north of Toronto.
And I looked it up. I couldn't tell for sure. Is that kind of an urban area, or is that kind of a rural
it's they call it country close to the city, and so it bleeds into the urban area of Toronto. Markham is pretty much large part of the greater Toronto area. Stovall is definitely still a bit of a country type community north of the city, surrounded by green pastures.
Did they change the boundaries from the previous election?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. And I guess the next question I would ask you is, and I don't want to take over Corey's thing, but I was the one that said let's have him come. Let's see if he comes and talks to us, and he's excited to talk to us and feel like I've made a new friend. So that's good.
Well,
But I want to
Amen.
know how you got in the People's Party
I can
and tell them
tell you
about the
first.
People's Party and what they stand for.
Right. Well, let me first talk a little bit about being grateful for being invited, and it's good to be amongst Christians, as I understand. I'm also a Christian.
Good for
I
you.
am working for a large engineering firm. We don't do just environmental stuff, but that's my background, environmental engineering.
Yes.
We build big infrastructure in Canada. In fact, at this point, I'm environmental director on the largest subway expansion of Toronto in a generation. So there's a
Wow.
lot of
Okay.
big stuff going on. We're also building big tunnels, also in the U.S. Actually, I'm particularly grateful actually to be amongst this U.S. public. I have great respect for the United States people that just rose up to show their face again and wanting to make America great again. And even though you won't see a lot of Canadians that support this agenda, I'm definitely one of them. People's Party. We were formed in 2018 by Maxime Bernier, the party leader. Maxime was the foreign minister under the Harper cabinet of Conservatives. He left that party because he felt that just like in the United States, you have a lot of rhinos. We had a lot of sinos here in Canada. And the Conservatives in name only he was getting tired of the corruption and the inaction, really, which he was completely right in my opinion, because they showed their face also during the COVID era, where they just sat on their hand. And even though they were the official opposition, there was no opposition. And so Maxime Bernier has been growing steadily his party. In 2019, he participated in the general election, got 2%. In 2021, he got 5%. We're aiming for at least 10% at the moment. Because we have a first past the post system, we need to get a majority of votes in one riding in order to dispatch a member of parliament. We don't know if that's possible, but in the meantime, we are definitely part of the Canadian landscape, and I would say aligned with the MAGA agenda in the US and the populist rising of other groups in Argentina, Malay, Farage in UK, Le Pen in France, Geert Wilders in the Netherlands. Netherlands, that's where I am from originally. I'm a new Canadian. I was 21 when I came to Canada, but Dutch background. Why I stepped up in 21 is because of the COVID madness. They had locked down everything, and I was very concerned about my kids. I've got 2 daughters, young adults, and I was very concerned about their future and saw the authoritarians basically taking over. And we took a stand. I felt we won the Battle of Ottawa with the help of the truckers. We were there as the only federal party supporting the truckers. And in that sense, I feel we already made great progress. We also made progress on the issue of migration and illegal immigration, shining a light on that, just like in the United States, that's a problem. It's a problem in Canada as well. On top of that, that illegal migration also brings in a lot of other illegal activities, such as fentanyl trade. We are completely against that. We also fully understand why the Trump administration is totally fed up with that and wants to make sure that the borders are secure. We're fully in support of that policy. And we also are in full support of negotiating a good end to a trade dispute. We believe we just have to sit around the table as adults and come to an agreement about some of the tariffs.
That's right.
You know, I'm not one of the Canadians that wants to fight a tariff war, just like the Sinos want to and the Liberals want to. They want to just do dollar for dollar. My opinion on that is that they just need another thing to distract the public from the real issues. And so, we form, in that sense, as a small rising party, we are an essential part of our democracy of common sense people that are very much, in the tradition of, I would say I'd describe our policies as fiscally conservative and socially libertarian. Canada is an even more diverse country than the United States, and we recognize that people have different opinions about their social perspectives. And in that sense, we don't necessarily want the state to be involved with personal decisions in that regard. But we are definitely for small government, efficient government, and that's our agenda. I think we are going to bring common sense back into Canadian society, which have gone in the last 10 years under Trudeau has gotten completely off track. Our society has also, because of its exaggerated climate alarmism, and I can speak with authority around that issue because I'm an environmental scientist, but I'm not believing in that alarmism. I believe we do need to take care of our environment, but not in a way they've used and hijacked the environmental subject to basically implement a Marxist agenda. This is more like about communism than about the environment. So
Amen.
I believe we need to push back against that. Canada has, unlike the US, has seen no growth in the last 10 years. And we need to bring that back. The entrepreneurship in Canada and the thing that made Canada great, just like it made America great, is the entrepreneur. And that species is under attack.
Yes.
and we needs to be liberated. And so that's that's where we're at. Anyways, I've been rambling on. I hope that's a good introduction.
I have one question to start with you, Rene.
Yeah.
The term Sino. Can you tell me what it means?
Conservatives in name only.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Rhinos is Republicans in name only.
See, he's taking the rhino, and I them Tinos, Tories in name only. See, my daughter is named Tori for unrelated reasons. So I have to be careful when I say Tory around my house. But I want to throw it out for everybody. I have a few questions because I'm excited about him, and I hope that we can stay friends after all this. I'm excited. I'm ready.
I hope so too. But can I make one more point, because that's very pertinent?
Sure.
We are very much, and we're in awe and inspired by you guys, and we feel, in that sense, the cultural influence you have is huge, and you should not underestimate that. We are being censored completely in Canada at the moment by the mainstream media, just like populism was censored elsewhere. The only way we break through is through podcasts like this, and that's why we are very much happy to appear on that. So, anyway,
I have heard that Maxime Bernier might be on Joe Rogan's show. Is that true?
We hope so. We hope he will be. He's been on a number of podcasts.
That'll get millions of Canadians to listen. Because a lot of people, because they
I know. That would be a breakthrough. We're working on it. Yes, we're hoping. He was on the PD David Patrick, what's his name? PDD podcast. He has been on the Jimmy Dory podcast. He's been on
Patrick
Alex Jones. He's been on InfoWars. He's been on a number of other.
Tucker Carlson ought to get him too.
Yes, Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan are the ones that we're still shooting for at the moment. He was on Fox yesterday, actually. He was quoted there, which is good. But this is how we get to the Canadians at the moment, because our mainstream media is censoring us. They even have decided that he can't be in the public debate, even though we had 5% of the vote last time, and even though we met the criteria to be in the debate, but then they changed the rules, of course, to keep him out.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what Romney did to Ron Paul a few years ago at the Republican convention.
Yeah. Well, Ron Paul is actually my original inspiration for what's going on in the U.S. In him, I found the first politician I liked in the U.S.
I've been to Canada twice, and I enjoyed it. I never met a Canadian I didn't like. I'm sure you have some who are jerks. I never met one. I had the time of my life both times I was there, and it is a huge place. I was there. The last time I was there was in 2019. We drove up through Sault Ste. Marie and drove across through Sudbury and all that, and came down through Niagara Falls. But anyway, my first point is, does Justin Trudeau not look does he not look a lot like Fidel Castro? I'm just saying. I mean, they call him Castro down here,
but going with that,
the other thing,
we many call him that here as well. But
okay. Well, the other thing is, I have a nephew who's a doctor in Michigan, and everybody always says Canada's so great because their healthcare system is so wonderful. Well, there's a lot of people who jump the border from Canada into the United States to pay cash for services from him in Michigan that they can't get under their socialist system.
The waiting
third
times
thing
are
about Canada is
yes.
back in 2021, I'm a retired trucker. So even though I'm not long haul like Corey, I was short haul, but I saw the way they treated those truckers and what your government did to those guys. And it made my blood boil, because these are the people who are getting up and working 24/7 to get things on the supermarket shelves. And your government, not that our government wasn't tyrannical too, but when I saw that they were having their accounts frozen and the police were out arresting them and stuff like that, that just sent a chill down my spine. And I realized it's a different country, but I feel as though, you know, tyranny can crop its head up anywhere. It can happen here or it can happen there. That's what I wanted to say about that.
I learned that the Canadian government has a nasty authoritarian streak, and that's both parties, the Conservatives and the Liberals. And yeah, that's you know, today is a bad day that way. The two leading truckers, Chris Barber and Tamara Leach, who were the organizers, they just got a guilty plea in court read to them, and for mischief. So they were that's going to be another. Now they will probably appeal, but part of the problem is the lawfare that's involved in bankrupting people like that to you know, basically make their life super miserable and give the message to the rest of the population that to demonstrate peacefully, because I was there too, by the way, and that flag is a testament to it. It was my battle flag from the Battle of Ottawa. It's still a bit dirty, actually, if you can see it, because people.
It's a little fuzzy in your image.
Yeah,
it's blurred a bit, but yeah, no, we were there and we were supporting them all the way, and I feel we won the Battle of Ottawa, in fact, because we also changed the paradigm. It's sort of like we shock people at mass psychosis at the moment, and we had ripple effects across the world, and we were proud of that. But yeah, to then, well, you guys did your same thing with the J6 people. That luckily they were now all they were commuted their sentences, but some of them were they were also put away for 20, 30 years, and yeah, that's still going on here. Now, in the meantime, the good thing is the Canadian public is completely fed up with Justin Trudeau, so he had to step down, even though there was no election or whatever. Just because of public sentiment, they realized that if they would go into the next election, which is on April the 28th, they would badly lose if he would lead. So he stepped down. But now they brought in this central banker from England, Mark Carney, who's actually to Justin Trudeau on steroids. And in fact, we're hoping that he's not going to win. But I mean, maybe they've got the whole system so finagled that they might be able to do it. In the news at the moment and in the polls, he's actually looking pretty good. And so that's we'll see what happens in the election. But we, as the People's Party, we speak truth to power, unlike the Sinos who are supposed to do this, but they're not. And so we'll see. Hopefully we can get the word out and make people realize the truth. We'll see. You know,
the one question I have for you, Rene, can you tell us and our viewers what was the political thing that occurred to galvanize you and your party to try to stand up and become the opposition to the political parties that you guys have in power currently?
Well, this is deep in my bones. I actually wrote a book about it, so that's coming out as part of my election campaign. You'll be pleased to hear that Muhammad Ali was my first inspiration as a young boy. He was my hero.
Too.
He was my hero, and I just read his book, actually, The Soul of the Butterfly. I don't know if you know that book. If you haven't read it, it's a fantastic read. And now I realize also, or later on, I realized that the reason why I loved Muhammad Ali is not just because he was such a fantastic boxer, but because he was such an outstanding individual, outstanding Christian, and Christian, at least embodying Christian values from his parents. He became a Muslim, but
he didn't fight. He didn't fight in the Vietnam War.
Well, that was it. He was fiercely anti-war. He was, and I was as a young boy at age 9 in the Netherlands. I was growing up in the Netherlands. I was fiercely anti-war as well, and in that sense, that rebellion has been bred in me, and it was good to see that Muhammad Ali shared that rebellion, because I was discussing at that time what was going on in Vietnam, and he was as well. And so, that's where my initial rebellion was formed. And I always had the plan to go into politics to engage at the end of my business career, and this is where we're at.
Yes.
So, and the reason why I stepped up now is because of the COVID madness. And I actually feel, this is much deeper. Unfortunately, we're in some sort of stealth World War III at the moment.
Yes.
And the people, the good people, have to step in as peacemakers.
Did
That's
they
really
close the churches, but not the strip joints in Canada like they did in California?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well,
they closed the churches, but not the strip joints.
They closed everything except for the liquor stores. So, now strip joints, I think they even closed those. Yeah, but this is tyranny developing, and unfortunately, if they expand these wars, the tyranny will only get worse. Right?
Right.
We see it. We'll see. We're so happy, and our leader also expressed that, Maxime Bernier. We're so happy with Trump stepping up to say we need peace in Ukraine. This is a useless war, should have never happened to begin with. We should have negotiated that. And no, this was another war for the war machine, unfortunately, because some people were making money, and a fantastic laundromat for money coming in and out. And I'm happy. Hopefully, he's successful. But the ship may already have sailed on the war, because the Europeans are always hungry for war, apparently, when things go bad. And we'll see how this ends. My big spiel is, though, and Muhammad Ali did that. He stepped up as a peacemaker, and he was always embodying that individual responsibility and freedom in order to make a difference.
Yes.
And I was hugely inspired by that, and have been all my life. And now it's my time to also step up. I'll give you one piece of information that is deeper in my psyche. My grandfather was a policeman in the Second World War, and he started resisting the Nazi occupation in his mid-career in 1943, when he saw how bad it was. And so he worked as a policeman, yet he was also a resistance fighter, and he paid for it with his life in April 1945. So I carry his name. I'm reborn him, reborn Afko de Vries, and I feel I have a duty to fight for peace and to fight for freedom. So that's part of my larger picture.
Wow, Markel, you have a question for Rene?
Awesome, Rene. Once again, definitely appreciate you being here with us. From the beginning, I wasn't sure what your perspective was as far as what it was going to be, as far as from the political stance of what's going on here in the U.S. But I still want to ask this question. Looking at the way leadership is in the U.S. now, we have a whole different type of animal, so to speak, or beast in the office. I put it that way because for the majority of people, I think anybody who's under the age of 100, they probably would say to themselves that they haven't seen an individual such as Donald Trump before. Now, being in Canada, our neighbors to the north, and being in another country, I often think about what's going on in the minds of citizens and politicians in other countries when they look at the so-called superpowers, as they so-called title U.S. and other countries like that. How do you see? I often wonder, how do you see what's going on when those superpowers, or those, now some people might look at it as a possible bully in the room, the way things are being conducted, tariffs and different things like that. And to see someone have the power and the will to say, hey, this is the direction I'm going in, this is what we're doing, and to have your country be affected by it. And kind of, I don't want to say have to go with the flow, but it's not like, well, I don't want to say kind of go with the flow, but you have to sit and watch and be a part of it. But you guys also, like you just stated, you have your elections going on, and it just makes me think how your elections is going to go based off the decisions that we're making here So from a political standpoint. So I guess there's a couple of things rounded in there that I was asking. But the one thing that came to my mind when it comes to the decision making is you mentioned about you guys have border issues also. And I often wonder about other countries, in Canada in particular. Do you have a problem with Americans crossing the border, like rapid, influctuations of Americans coming across the border? And is that a issue, or is it just everywhere else that people coming from? As far as
yeah, that's a long story in a way. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. The Liberals under Trudeau have welcomed in the last 3-4 years a lot of extra people, and they haven't been properly vetted. We had an immigration system that was probably the envy of the world because it was merit based, and people had to pass certain tests and make sure that they spoke English and things like that. And then even a point system whether you could contribute and take care of yourself and your family when you would come here. Now that system has been very loosely applied in the last 3 to 4 years, and we've had 3% of our population added in 21 and 22, but mostly through legal immigration. So I guess it's not illegal, and some of it also was coming up across the border from the U.S. Roxham Road was actually an infamous site near on the Quebec border there, where people would just be allowed to come over, and nobody would ask a question, or even the police would look at it and just say, okay, well, we'll welcome you as refugees or something or the other. But they've lost control of that, and in fact, I think Trump had a statistic that 80% of illegal immigrants that were found to be on some sort of terror watch list, 80% of them came from Canada into the U.S. So 400, and that's 400 individuals. Now that's a serious problem, and I think we shouldn't allow that to happen to our neighbors. We want to be good neighbors, and we want to have secure borders. And because with criminal intent or illegal immigration, as I mentioned in the introduction, also come other things like fentanyl and what have you. So we've lost control of that, and that's one thing that the new government needs to take control of, and in fact should be part of the discussion also in the tariff discussion. Now, you just to dial back to your question on leadership, leaders need to lead. Okay, and Trump has an ambitious agenda, make America great again. A lot of people have problems with how he talks or how he brings it, and okay, well, you got to see through that. I'm one of the people that sees through that, in a sense that he's trying to bring a national unity government with people like Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard and other heavyweights to the fore to clean up a serious problem that you guys have. Just the closure of U.S. aid and all the consequences that has had already, I would say positive consequences, is tremendous. And that cleanup is now underway. So I'm happy about all that. Now, does it mean that everybody's going to be happy about that? No, because you're going to have losers and winners in that, and people that lose their job are never going to be happy. So yeah, that's a readjustment, a reset that you can say, well, leaders shouldn't do that. Well, he was elected on a mandate, and I see the majority of the American people are supporting that, and that's what democracy is about. That's what elections are about. And so I would say, of course, it has to remain peaceful. And I already mentioned that I'm very happy with what's going on in Ukraine, but I'm not very happy with what's potentially going on in the Middle East. And the U.S. is always, the U.S. has been dominated by I would say a bit of a Zionist agenda. Even the politics is steered that way. You could be critical of that, but on the other hand, I also understand the choices there. So I don't necessarily, I would say I'm 80% happy about what's going on in the U.S., and I will refer to the issue of restrained responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. I have one of the best speeches of presidents in the U.S. is Eisenhower's speech in 1961 when he left. He said, beware of the military-industrial complex. It's going to start wagging the dog. And in fact, it did, right? First with the Kennedy assassination, and then later on with everything that followed, including Vietnam and all the wars that came. And that includes Ukraine, in my opinion. And now I believe in fact, the good people in the United States have stepped up and are trying to get control of it, but they can also lose control again if the bully of American power is used in an unrestrained and unwise way. We as Canadians pride ourselves, but I think it's largely because we don't have that power. We said, well, we're better than Americans. Well, why? Because we are forced to be restrained. We don't have that power, and we need to make wise choices. And that's what I encourage you as our Southern brothers to do. Use your power wisely. And I see for 80%, I see you do that now, and I'm very happy about that. For 20%, double, think 3 times before you act. So
some of the issues we have are with our own people. We have a sizable minority, although they are a very loud minority of people in our country who would rather see our country fail than to have Donald Trump succeed.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Even if you don't like Donald Trump, and he does say a lot of cringeworthy things, but we do have, I see it from people I know on social media, people I talk to sometimes, in my travels, who really, they are afraid that Donald Trump might actually succeed. And it's like,
wow.
If somebody is doing something, the right thing, but they're doing it the wrong way, that deserves criticism. But you have to look at the alternative. If the election had gone the other way, even though Trump makes me cringe every day, if the election had gone the other way, nobody would be talking about reducing the size of government. Nobody would be talking about cutting taxes. Nobody would be talking about securing the border. Nobody would be talking about reducing spending. Nobody would be talking about reducing inflation. Nobody would be talking about being energy self-sufficient. We would just have more of the neo-Marxist claptrap coming at us from every direction.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like Trump is not really the problem. He's sort of a symptom of it. And we were faced with the choice between a dumpster fire and a train wreck. And most people, I guess, chose the dumpster fire because it burns slower and it's not as explosive.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you're probably right.
Josh, do you have a question?
Yes, actually, I do. Well, first of all, let me say that I'm actually a former employee of Dr. Ron Paul.
So wonderful.
Yeah, so certainly can appreciate that. I'm wondering. Of course, I see that your political party was founded in 2018.
Yeah.
And in 2019 was the election. The 2019 elections was the first time that your party ran. Do you happen to know how difficult it is in Canada to create a new political party and run in elections? Like, what do you happen to know about the process?
Yeah, I know the whole trajectory. Because the first past the post system, it's very difficult, to break through. But I'll give you the example of the Green Party that was started 27 years before it attained a first seat in the House of Commons. But in the meantime, in the 27 years run up to getting a seat, their ideas and their policies had so much influence that all the parties basically took it over and hijacked the ideas. And in fact, the pendulum completely overswung to the point of where we are now with a lot of climate alarmism and things being introduced for environmental reasons that in my opinion as an environmental scientist are actually an overreaction to what's going on. And so that's how politics works here. It moves at a glacial pace, but the influence that new parties have are largely initially to change a cultural mindset. And my opinion is that because of what's happening now in the States and in Argentina and maybe in Europe, some countries, Farage, Netherlands, what I mentioned, Canada will also change at some point, and we're part of that change. And so when will we attain seats? That's a question. My best estimate, if we don't break through this election, it will be 4 or 5 years from now. At that point, we should, unless suddenly the sinos here wake up and start implementing our entire platform. But that's a short. That's probably difficult to expect. But I actually think under the cultural influence of Trump America, assuming he succeeds, and I hope he does, including all the things that Robert Kennedy is doing. There's going to be, or Ray Bhattacharya, all these good people. That influence is going to be hugely felt here, and that's all aligned with our party platform. I would say, for me, as a business guy, I'm at the end of my business career. For me, it's not about money or power that I'm going into politics. I'm trying to change things for the ideas and for the right policies. And if that happens by hook or by crook, or the other way around, right, through cultural change from the U.S., that's fine with me. I don't, I actually wonder if I even would enjoy being in the House of Commons. But
well, let me not interrupt. I wanted to make sure everybody got in all of their, and I see Joshua wanting to say something.
I had one more question, but you go ahead,
Sure,
Josh.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh.
I don't really have anything else to add at the moment. I mean, I just got my question answered, so yes.
Jeff, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I don't know. You said you were originally from the Netherlands?
correct, yeah.
Correct?
I was 21 when I came to Canada for the first time, and immigrated officially when I was 23. Yeah.
Okay, I was just in the Netherlands last year.
Okay.
On our way
My
to
parents
we
still
lived
live
in
there.
Germany.
So I go
just
there
came-
often. Actually, I work 2
Yeah.
months a year. I work there in the summer. So
I came back from living in Germany 6 months ago. My wife and I were over there for 2 years, and we went to Amsterdam, and we crossed through the Netherlands a couple times. And funny sidebar, I was at the gym at our military base, and these two soldiers came in wearing uniforms. And I was flabbergasted. I'm like, why the hell are Russian soldiers walking around on our military base? They were Dutch. The flag.
oh yeah,
is
the
red,
Russian
white,
flag
and
kind
blue.
of looks Russian. That's right.
But the
Or
colors were in
Dutch
different
flag.
order. It's just like
Yeah.
Germany and Belgium. The flag is turned
Yeah,
one
that's
way
right.
to the other. But
Right. Red, white, and blue. That's
nevertheless,
what we got. Yeah.
I wanted to ask if your party, if you have any sort of similarity to the AfD party, the Alternative für Deutschland
Yeah, I would
in
think
Germany.
so. Similar, God, family, and country. Like, plus worries about being overrun through cultures from other countries. At the moment, most of our immigrants are coming from India and China in Canada, and that's fine. If people want to adjust to be Canadian, but if they choose to bring their local conflicts with them, like the Indians and Khalistanis are doing, well, no thanks. Please keep that out of our country. We want a peaceful Canada, and we want people that come here to become Canadian, not to become
That's right.
reenact
You're
some
starting
sort
to
of
sound like a
foreign conflict.
nationalist. You're sounding like a nationalist there. That's gonna.
Well, yeah, we're like Canada first. It's like you are U.S. first, right? And I always say even this when I deal with people, family first. That's everybody has their own escalation of issues. You first take care of your family, then you're strong. Now you can take care of other families. Then you take care of your country. Then you take care of other countries. But you first, you do have to be strong in order to
Yes.
put your energy there first and foremost. And then you can, from a position of strength, you can actually also obtain peace also in the foreign theaters. So, yeah.
I have nothing wrong with that. Being America first doesn't mean screw everybody else.
No, exactly.
But it's like if my house is on fire, it'd be a really bad time for you to ask me to help you paint your kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Common sense as far as that concerned.
Yes. I agree.
The last question I have for you, Rene, when is your country's election? When is the next election?
April 28th.
April 28th.
April 28th.
Okay.
So coming up
Okay.
this month, later this month, yeah.
Okay.
And we'll know soon after how
Is that a
things
federal-
go. If Carney gets in, we're royally screwed here.
Is that a
Because-
federal election, or do you do
Federal
provincial?
government, yeah.
Do you have
Federal government
provincial
for the
elections too?
House of Commons. So, and out of the House of Commons, we have also a Senate. Usually the party in power appoints people in the Senate, and they also appoint judges usually. So this is one big concern that I have, because in my opinion, the way things are set up right now, especially after 10 years of liberal rule under Trudeau, everything is so rigged. So both the judiciary and the Senate, that even if you have a completely new government, it's going to take decades to right the ship of state in a different direction. So, it's not a good, not an easy task for, first of all.
Josh, do they do that in New Zealand too?
I'm sorry, what?
Do they
Do-
have the election system like New Zealand does? Like it's parliamentary and,
Yes.
they
Yes.
choose the prime minister and
Yeah, they have elections every 3 years, but of course, like most parliamentary systems, they can be held earlier if the government so decides. Although apparently that is quite rare here in New Zealand. I mean, it's only happened a handful of times, I've been told.
interesting. Thank you.
Dan,
Well-
you have a final question?
Yeah, it'll probably might be more than one, but we are starting to get wrapped up. I wanted to ask these two questions. First, because this podcast will end up in y'all's hands, and you were to use it maybe to reach out to voters in your district, what would you say to the voters in your district about why they should vote for you? And what have you been doing? Are you doing a lot of doorstep talking to people, going door to door? Or do they have ads? Are there forums where you can go to?
Yeah.
What's a typical MP election like in Canada?
Well, yeah, door knocking is still popular, and that's the best. I just came back today. I've been 2 hours of door knocking, talking to people in the riding. The one-to-one contact is still always the best, and that's always what's, especially at the riding level, that's what's encouraged. Of course, our policies are national policies, so we're very active on social media. I'm on Twitter, X. I'm quite active, but that's
Yes.
more for national perspective. Facebook and Instagram, of course, part of that. We like to network with other influential people also in Canada. On Sunday, we have a big event here in my riding, next to my riding, where do you know Frank Stronach? He's one of the most successful Canadian entrepreneurs. He's a founder of Magna International, and he actually threw his support behind the PPC recently. So we're quite pleased about that. He's a successful entrepreneur like Donald Trump, although he's done some political work. He's mostly doing bipartisan things. He's actually promoting a new economic charter for Canada that he's pushing out, and we're supportive of because it's fully aligned with our platform. So yeah, it's very much mobilizing the common sense Canadians that hopefully will step up and through all sorts of means. Yes, placing signs across the riding and meeting, shaking hands, meeting people, and being in kitchen counter discussions with people. That's the best way to do it. Last election, unfortunately, I think you have similar numbers. 40% of the people didn't show up to vote. So that entire group of people could actually flick or change the entire outcome of the election. And much of our support actually comes from that group because, in fact, 40% of our support comes from that group. So we're trying to get people. We just go door knocking and say, we hope you show up. If you show up, they wind up voting for us usually because they research the issues. But there's a lot of apathy and demoralized thought just because of how the situation is, and also because how the system is. So yeah, that's I think creating a bit of excitement and through debates. We have debates here locally as well, where through Chamber of Commerce and libraries we debate the local candidates, and that's how the word gets out. So.
Yeah. I would probably do something, Rene, like go to the Rotary Club meetings and things like that and just sit in the back. Somebody will recognize you and say, we have a special guest today. We have Rene de Vries. He's the People's Party candidate for the local MP spot. You may or may not get to say anything. You'd probably stand up and wave at the very least. And then on the way out, people are going to talk to you. I always thought that was
You're right. That's a good suggestion. Yeah. Well, that's where it's at. And this Saturday, I'm going to go visit as many businesses as in my local town where I live as I can. Shake hands, talk to people, and hand out brochures. So that's how it's done. Yeah.
Well,
Where did you learn
certainly
to
have the
speak English?
personality for politics.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to know, where did you, if you grew up in the Netherlands, where did you learn to speak English?
Well, that started in grade 4 in my Dutch classes, yeah. And then I've worked in the business here for 37 years now, so that's
So many people I've met from when I was in Europe, they would say, "Oh, my English is not very good," and it was better than mine.
yeah. We
I
get it
mean,
from we get languages. We get taught languages in school since grade 4. So yeah.
almost
And
everybody
Renee,
under 40 in Europe speaks fluent English. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Only the older
and
people
Renee,
don't know
English
how to
is
speak it.
required in Germany,
Oh, I know.
at least for the college prep people.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
and
I
Renee,
was taught
what's the
German
name of
and
your
French in
book?
high school as well. So yeah.
What's the name of your book, Renee, that's coming out?
A Canadian Dream.
Canadian Dream. And
A
where can we
Canadian
pick it
Dream.
up?
Yeah, it'll be on Amazon. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think you'll like it
All right.
because it talks about Muhammad Ali too, and about personal responsibility. I actually want to give people hope that in this sort of, and you know, in the US, I feel things are going now in the right direction because people are stepping up, stepping into their power. Be a good person, make the change you can make where you have influence. That's what the book talks about, and that's what I hope I can inspire people to do as well.
Can you focus on
All
your
right.
flag a little bit? It's really blurry.
Let me see if I can change that a bit. Yeah.
I mean, I'm partial to Old Glory, but the Canadian flag still looks pretty darn good to me.
Let me see if
I
I can.
actually have the old flag, the pre-9. I have a little copy of the pre-1967 flag, but I bought it after 1967.
What did that look like?
It had the British tricolor in the corner, and it had
Oh,
a symbol for Canada in
Yeah,
the
sorry, I don't know what the
and it's
the
red.
unblurry
It was
button is.
red, and
No.
they replaced it with a.
Wow. Well,
Settings.
I'm gonna ask you. Let's see if I'm still on. I can ask you one other question, Renee. What is
Yeah.
your social media handles or your website if you have people that are interested in reaching out?
Yes.
Maybe
People
send
that want
type
to.
of campaign donations.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. peoplespartyofcanada.ca. That's our general website. You can also find me there if you look under candidates, Rene de Vries. And my personal, where I'm most active is on X. Very grateful to Elon Musk to giving us free speech back here in Canada, because that's that's pretty much what I only use for news gathering and for talking to other people in a free speech environment.
Yes.
Afko de Vries is my handle, not Rene de Vries. Afko de Vries is my grandfather's name, and that's AAFKODEVRIES.
Okay. Now I
Yeah.
wondered about that.
are you
Yeah.
on
Well,
Facebook?
Facebook Rene de Vries, yeah, and Instagram
Okay.
Rene de Vries, yeah. Yeah,
well,
well,
one
great,
last
great
question,
meeting you,
Renee,
you all.
before
That's fantastic. Yeah,
tell everybody about Ernest Manning,
yeah. Well, that's
because
your
he's my
hero,
favorite
right?
Canadian.
Yeah,
I
was he
admire
the
him the
founder of
most.
Social Credit Party in Alberta, right? I don't know.
A founder, yes.
A
I think a
founder.
man named Aderhart actually founded it, but he was premier of Alberta for 25 years and had a very, very ethical, upright government. And he
Yes.
also every Sunday went on the radio and talked about the Bible. He did the Back to the Bible Hour. I don't know if they have Back to Bible Hour anymore in Canada.
No. They try to
And
take
he
God
actually
out of
spoke
everything,
like Billy
unfortunately.
Graham. He'd go to a stadium and he'd do the thing and call people for salvation and stuff like that. I suspect most politicians in Canada probably would find that odd today, but I found him very admirable, and his son
And he's,
Preston's very admirable as well.
well, for sure. You know that Preston Manning, he found a Reform Party, and he made great inroads. In fact, he saved Canada from bankruptcy in the mid '90s, in my opinion.
Sure.
And then he went on. By the way, so you know that too. He headed citizen inquiry into the entire COVID response. That was Preston Manning as well. He was already in his
Preston
80s.
did that.
Preston did that. Now he did step back because it became very controversial. Because the I would call them the COVID Nazis. They felt that he shouldn't be able to do that, and he did step back from that, but that citizen inquiry kept rolling on and is a big beacon of truth for exactly what happened. Although it's not been generally recognized by the mainstream parties, the Sinos and the liberals. So that's that's a sad situation.
What do you do if you wake up on the morning of after the election and you find out the conservatives lost narrowly because the People Party caused enough votes for the liberals to win?
Yeah, we face that
matter?
question. You split the vote. You split the vote. Well, we have a completely different platform. We feel the really what the liberals and the conservatives are trying to do. They're splitting the vote. They're splitting the liberal vote, and they're not willing to take principled stance. And so we are taking principled stands. We are doing politics different. We don't do politics by polling to see where the wind blows. We say, well, this is the right approach, and we're not afraid to stand behind that. And so that's, if people say that we're taking votes away from the conservatives, well, that's only partially true. 80% of our support comes from non-conservative. So you can say split the vote all you want, but that's a bit of a myth, in my opinion.
That sounds like what happened to Robert Sarvis a few years ago in Virginia. They accused him of costing Cuccinelli the election because his vote was technically more than the difference between the winner and the loser. But they found out that only a third of those people would have voted for the Republican, a third would have voted for the Democrat, and a third wouldn't have voted at all. And so you're probably giving voice to people who otherwise would say, I'm opting out of the whole system.
They're so disgusted with the system that they otherwise wouldn't vote. And that's 40% of our support. Yes. So I don't subscribe to that. And our leader also, Maxime Bernier, says, and he's right with that, you cannot blame us for a weak leader of the conservative. If they are weak and they're not willing to stand up for principles that are important and common sense, that's not our fault. So don't accuse us of that.
Wow. Well, I think this has been a very interesting episode, Rene. We definitely appreciate you being with us. Please accept our invitation. You and the brothers and sisters of your party, you guys are always welcome here on Talks Over Drinks.
Great to hear, and thank you for your invitation. And I definitely appreciated this call. It gives me good spirit too, like good.
Yeah.
Yes. Just it's not always easy doing what's right, and it's nice to know that there's a lot of other people in the world that want that too, and so I get encouraged here too. So thank you very much.
I think we're all in it together.
Yeah.
Americans, Canadians, Netherlands, anybody.
For sure.
And I'll definitely keep in touch with you, Rene, because you're a neat person.
Thank you for inviting me here.
I like you. So,
all right. Well, have a good night, and all the best to you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be blessed for sure.
Yes, you be blessed too.
All right. Well,
thank you for joining us.
This has been Talks Over Drinks again. My name is Corey Fauconier. As always, my partner in justice, Markel Prines, everyone's favorite Nazarene attorney, Sandy Sanders, my brother of another color, Jeff Kleb, my Libertarian brother in New Zealand, Joshua Huffman, and Rene. We wish you all the best. We're praying for you. And again, you guys are always welcome here with Talks Over Drinks.
Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers. Y'all be safe now.
All right. Let's talk over drinks.
Talks Over Drinks.